Hello, hello, check, check. Yes, we are live. Let's see, make some little adjustments here and there and everywhere. How are you guys? I'll give you guys a minute to come on in. I'll just do my regular routine, getting started stuff. Hit your like button if you'd be so kind. And turn on your notification bell to ring. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. And please make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, consider please just subbing up. It doesn't cost anything. There's no commitment. And it just does a lot to help the strength of the channel to ensure the longevity. That's what we're all about. Consistency, reliability. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. What am I looking at over here? I'm looking at a little thing that's bothering me. There, that's better. So much better. It probably wasn't bothering you, but it bothers me. Okay, and that blue up high, that's bothering me too. Let me check that. Better, much better. Okay, it's all the fiddling I need to do. Although my orange is looking pretty dark, I think I need to put some new batteries in there because it's almost darker than the red. We can't have that. It gets the chakra all out of alignment. So how are my invisible chat today? What day is it? It's Monday, I think. It is July 2nd, or June. Whoa. Don't get ahead of yourself. An entire month. Happy June. So what, does that mean we're 12 days away from this insane parade that's going to break the streets of Washington, D.C.? Those streets can't take the weight of those tanks. I hope Donnie knows that. I don't know. So I want to talk about the alleged terrorist attack yesterday in Colorado. I made the thumbnail. Hold on a second. I made the thumbnail for this video. One of our President's Truth Social posts, which is just insane. Let's see. This was 4 or 5 days ago. This was on the 27th of May, 10:44 a.m. Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad, caps, right? He's playing with fire. And honestly, I wouldn't have interpreted this the same way that Fair and Balanced interpreted it, but I think that he's sharper than me, so I'll give him that. The video that I linked in the description that I took that screenshot from is his most recent video from this morning. And I hear the siren going off in the background. It's like the first Monday at noon that they test out the hurricane siren. So you probably can't hear it because it's very distant, but it's distracting my brain. What was I saying about Fair and Balanced in his video? That he sees that post as a direct admission that Donnie's been protecting Vladdy. And like I said, I tend to agree with him. I really would not have come up with that on my own. I would have just come up with the same old crap that he's just being stupid and talking crazy out of his rear end and threatening everybody. You're playing with fire is exactly what he said to Zelensky. the you don't have the cards, and then I have all the cards. And now Chris Norland just made a new video. I haven't watched it yet. The thumbnail has China President Z, I think is how you say it. It's like XI, but I think it's President Z. And Donnie are on the thumbnail, and the president of China is saying, we make all the cards. I'm just like, whoa. Chris Norland is really smart. He's one of my favorites to watch these days. One second. Always with the chapstick. So it looks like I have two people here. It looks like my sound is working. If you want to jump in and say hi and just reassure me that everything's fine with my video, we'll go ahead and get underway. I'm going to just sip a little bit more coffee because you know how I am. I got to jumpstart my brain. As a new mother, each time I'd have a baby, because, I had 4, because I'm crazy like that. They're like potato chips. You can't just have one, in my opinion. But each time I had a new child, I would say there's just not enough caffeine in the world. As a new mom, there's just not enough caffeine in the world. And now my 20-year-old son, he's turning 21 this month. He has a 1-month-old baby, and he understands now. Mrs. Amir, hello, girlfriend. Thanks for saying hi. I'm so excited to get you your package. It's June now, so I think it'll actually be closer to July that the transaction happens. So super excited to get you that chakra bracelet that you won a few weeks ago. And Coco is here, so maybe I should close my door. Oh, wait. The little puppy is here too. Maybe I should show her off. Come here, little puppy. Come here, Chi. Come here, Chi. Okay, she ran off. Sorry, you guys. Mookie, Chi. Come on. Okay, everybody in. Got the door shut. I got all the puppies. We're having a puppy pile. Are you ready? Come here, babies. I can't get Coco up here, but I can get Mookie and I can get Chi. Come here, bug. Come here. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. The puppy love. She is way too effing cute. She's just growing so much, and she's getting better. She's getting a lot less nuts. Thank goodness, because she's only, like 5 months old, and I always think puppies are crazy until they're about 2, and then they get all their wiggles out. So she is such a snuggler, and I love her fuzzy paws. She is 100% Cocker Spaniel, and she's got cute little spot. Where's her little spot? Oh, she's such a nut. She's such a ragamuffin teddy bear. There, am I done showing you off? Where's your little spot? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. There's her spot. Could you imagine anything cuter? So precious. Her belly is really cute too. So funny. If you feed her a couple of bites too many, she gets really pudgy, like in 2 days. And then if you feed her a couple of bites, not enough, she gets really skinny in 2 days. So we were feeding her just the right amount of bites. And so she should be called Goldilocks, but it's not up to me. What about Mookie? Come here, baby. Mookie, where are you? Come on. Mookie, come. Come here. Come here. Come here, Mookie. Come on. I got to show you off. Everybody wants to see you. Come here. Oh. I wish I could show Coco off too, but after I'm done showing off Mookie, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of this crapola. I can't wait either. So exciting. So here's Mookie. She's got that perfect black heart on her forehead because she is just perfection. And she is, I always like to say, she's half Chiweenie, but she thinks she's all wiener dog. And then little Chi is right here. They are so cute together. So Mookie, we don't cut her hair or anything. She just has super short hair. And she's about 8 years old. And then she was smaller than her when we first got Chi a couple of months ago. And now, of course, Chi is like 2 inches taller than her because she's got the really short dachshund legs. And she is my baby. Do you see how perfect that black heart is on her forehead? I always like to joke around that I touch it up with a Sharpie. Before I bring her on live, I touch her up with a Sharpie, but I'm totally kidding. I don't do anything to it. It's just a perfect black heart. It's hilarious. See, you get a good look. Look at that. It looks like I touched it up, doesn't it? But I promise you I did not. Okay. We got 3 puppy dogs in the house. We've got 3 people in chat. But we got 3 viewers, 1 in chat. So that's cool. I don't want to put pressure on people. I love having people in chat. That's why I do my lives. But for people that don't want to be in chat or they can't because they're driving or they're at work or they're shy, that's 100% cool with me. So that that quote from Donnie is insane, and it ties right in with this what they're already calling a terrorist attack. The man in Boulder, Colorado, who threw a flamethrower into a crowd. I don't think there's any fatalities. I think there's 8 that are injured and hospitalized, and very, very frightening. And it just seems really quick that they started calling it a terrorist attack. Like, I don't know, within minutes of it hitting the news feed, some were already calling it that. And, it's sort of like discovering a deceased person at the bottom of a flight of stairs and saying, well, obviously they fell down the stairs, when you really don't have any idea. Obviously it was an accident and they fell down the stairs. You don't know. Maybe they threw themselves down the stairs on purpose. Maybe they were pushed down the stairs. Maybe they just happened to be at the bottom of the stairs, but they weren't up on the stairs. They were at ground level already. You don't jump to conclusions. You can speculate and say, it appears to be potentially a terrorist attack or something like that. When they come out with these definitive statements, like right off the bat, it makes me think that it's bogus. So then, who's going to investigate? Mr. Kash Patel, the head of the FBI. He's so smart. He knows what he's doing, and so does Dan Bongino. I like what Hal Sparks calls him, Bungholio, from Beavis and Butthead. They are like Beavis and Butthead. I always thought Don Jr. and Eric were Beavis and Butthead, but so are Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. They should have a competition. We could do like a vote. That would be a fun community post. Who's the real Beavis and Butthead? Anyway, now this morning they're saying that that dumb broad Susie Wiles has had her phone hacked. So there's a national security risk there because these women are so stupid. I mean, Christy Nome can't even keep track of her purse when she's got $3,000 cash in it. Why has nobody talked about that? So that's the one who's in charge of Homeland Security, and I would think she'd be involved with this investigation early on if they think that it's a terrorist attack. I'm just going to be straight up and tell you my suspicion because I have to. I always have to be honest with my viewers. I think that this man was put up to it. This Egyptian national, I forget his name. I think he was put up to it. I don't think he's a lone wolf, and I don't think that. I think you could trace back who put him up to it, basically to the man in charge who wants to declare martial law more than anything else, and he's just dying to. And I keep going back to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, when the white pickup truck crashed into those people in New Orleans, and Matt Livelsberger blew up apparently in a Tesla Cybertruck in front of a Trump Tower in Vegas. Both of those guys renting their trucks from the same app. Both of those guys having trained, I think, or maybe they had some affiliation with Fort Bragg. They were both Army guys. Livelsberger had been career military, like 20 years, and living in Germany on active duty, home for vacation for the holidays, and then decided to go blow himself up in front of Trump Tower. Blah blah blah. Trump Tower. And then the other guy, whose name I don't remember, was no longer in the military. I think he served for like 8 years. And so, yeah, they were both in the 82nd Brigade, I think, right? With Fort Bragg. I think I said all that. Had been prior. And I don't know if their time there might have overlapped. I don't remember if I had checked into that. But could just be a coincidence. It's a large base and it's a large infantry division. I know this, but coincidence that they just happen to rent their trucks from the same places and within hours of each other. I mean, place in cyberspace. It's like an app that I guess it's kind of like Airbnb, except for cars. So you're basically renting cars from private individuals as opposed to from Enterprise or Hertz or Budget or something. So just pretty wild. And then also pretty wild that, these big events happened on New Year's, in the wee hours of New Year's morning in New Orleans. The guy rammed into a crowd of people, and I think he had explosives on him. I think he was shot by law enforcement, or did he take himself out? I forget, but he was DOA. And then Livelsberger allegedly blew himself up in the car, in the truck, the SWATster car, as I think they're appropriately called, in front of the Trumpster Tower. But he wrote all these like notes that they called manifesto about how he had nothing against Trump. He had no hostility towards Trump. He had no animosity towards Trump. He was simply blowing his truck up in front of Trump Tower for essentially no reason, apparently, in the manifesto. But he definitely didn't hate Trump. Okay? Are we clear on that? Anyway, it's just really weird how these cases get handled. It's been blowing my mind. And then they get forgotten about. Even Kristi Noem's purse getting stolen at a freaking burger joint with her kids and grandkids on Easter Sunday evening, with Secret Service right there and with $3,000 in the purse. And she had all of her badges and I'm sure, codes and PIN numbers, all of her high security access information in that purse, with the 3,000 cash that she was going to use to pay for dinner. How did they pay for their burgers if the purse was gone? Oh my goodness, they probably had to wash dishes, right? On Easter night. Sure. And then they even had the guy on videotape, and they've never, not only have they not caught the guy, they keep not talking about it. Like, give me a break. I think that they come up with these weird schemes, like the purse stealing, or like the thing on New Year's with the cars. And they have these plans about how it's going to be a good distraction and it's going to mislead people. And then, like with Kristi Noem's purse, then when weird things happen, they can say, oh, well, it must be because of that security breach, right? Or with Susie Wiles having her phone hacked. How come the leaks are from the chicks? The potential leaks are from the chicks, not, I don't know, Hegsbreath and his breach of security with everything under the sun? But no, that doesn't put anybody at risk because, he's a dude. It's cool. Back off. Quit talking about my bro, my homie. Okay. Yeah. Um oh, and then the couple that was uh red rummed outside of the Jewish Museum like an entire week ago. We've all forgotten about that. I mean, I have. I can't keep up with this crap. But are we escalating to be able to uh, declare martial law? Because that's what it looks like to me. So we can step up the vigilance and get ahead of it, right? It's weird. It's very weird. So how come the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day attacks? I started to say that the one in New Orleans was like I think about 1:30 in the morning, and then the one in Vegas I think was like 8 in the morning on January 1st of this year. So maybe 5 hours apart, but that's not accounting for the time difference because I think there's at least an hour time difference, if not two. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Roughly 5 hours, give or take. Both the same morning, New Year's Day. And why was it never even considered that there might have been a link between the two of them? That those could have been terrorist attacks, that could have been a conspiracy, even if it was just the two of them and nobody else involved. I think that's weird. What, they just knew? They just always knew? Like they never even suggested that it could be a terrorist attack. They never even said, well, we'll have to rule out if one or both might be. No, they're just like not terrorist attacks. They're just randos, right? Just randos. What else do I have here in my notes? I wanted to read you the article that I was talking about in my video yesterday about Trumpster Fire commending Governor Walz's handling of the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin situation back there in 2020 and the aftermath and the riots. Let's see. What was the thing that happened this morning? Another potential terrorist attack this morning. Did you guys check it out in the news? To me, it's just like the 200 bomb threats on election day. Like that was so out of place. I don't know if there's ever been a bomb threat on election day in the history of our country's elections. And then all of a sudden there's 200, and I think every single one of them was from a Russian IP email address. They were all emails. Like none of them were phone calls or notes or faxes or anything else. No texts, no tweets, no social media posts, all emails. So to me, this thing in Colorado is very out of place. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, June 1st in Boulder, Colorado, downtown, and some guy comes out of nowhere and screams "Free Palestine" and throws a firebomb. And then, I mean, sure, there's a chance that it's just a random act of violence, but why are they jumping the gun, assuming that it's related to a terrorist type of thing? Like I said, I really think they're trying to get to the martial law declaration and trying to distract from all the crazy. I mean, like this freaking Truth Social post, where basically Donnie is admitting that he has been protecting Russia for years. He comes straight out and says it straight out. I mean, yeah, that's interpretation. I'll read it again though. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad. He's playing with fire. And again, that was on May 27th, so about 5 or 6 days ago. And it doesn't get covered by our regular mainstream media at all. And it gets buried underneath all the other crazy. We're all concerned about Elon's black eye and who done it and whose wife did he steal, and was the guy really, like, was it a three-way or was there voyeurism? Like, who cares? Who the F cares? And why are they going to, like, walk out of the Oval Office together? Like, they literally walked out together. At least that's what I heard. I wasn't there. I didn't see them. But why would they do that? Why would they, like, be so dramatic about it? It's like they're trying to draw the attention. They're trying to have news to go viral so that people aren't focused on other things like the crazy post that the Trumpster fire had just made. I mean, he makes, like, what? I don't know, somewhere around 100 a day, give or take 100. I mean, he makes a lot every day. Not as many as Musk. I think Musk does at least 200 a day, is the word on the street. Fred Field, hola, just back from dropping Dexter at a half-day daycare. What did I miss? Oh, you missed everything, Fred. I can't catch you up. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for being here. You're right on time. So, talking about the flamethrower last night in Boulder, Colorado, and how quickly the authorities have said, oh, looks like terrorism, looks like a terrorist attack. What was the crazy thing that happened this morning? There were fatalities. Hold on, let me look at, I know JLR was covering it. JLR. I want to say it was like Tennessee or something, but let me see. Oh, no, it was a mass shooting in North Carolina yesterday, 12 shot, or was that Saturday? There was a mass shooting in Massville Center 5 days ago at a mall. Car rams crowd the Liverpool parade, mass injuries 6 or 7 days ago. It's ramping up. And then 2 weeks ago, there was that major explosion at the fertility clinic in New Mexico, I think that was, right? This stuff is so crazy. What about the ship crash that happened at the Brooklyn Bridge? And there were 2 people on board that Mexican Navy ship that passed away. So, no, the major explosion at the fertility clinic, sorry, it wasn't Santa Fe, it was Palm Springs. Absolutely insane. So just in the last 2 weeks, we've had an alleged attack on a fertility clinic in Southern California, southeastern California, Palm Springs. And then we had the Mexican Navy that doesn't know how tall their ship is, apparently, and killed 2 of their people and messed up the Brooklyn Bridge. And then we have the Liverpool car ramming into the crowd, just like in New Orleans on New Year's Day. Then we have the mall shooting at the Brass Mill Center, and I'm not sure where that is. Brass Mill Center. I'll look that up real quick. And then we got the North Carolina mass shooting, and then we got the terror attack in Boulder. Wasn't there something again this morning, or am I crossing my wires with the North Carolina mass shooting? Let's see. I wanted to see where Brass Mill Center is. I'm going to guess that might be Europe, but it could be the U.S. Brass Mill Center, Connecticut. Waterbury, Connecticut. Okay, good to know. And malls boost security, ever prepping for something more. I really think that there could definitely be, but I'm not going to declare that I know because I don't. But it looks to me like a conspiracy to try to declare martial law. That's what it looks like to me. Just bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. I mean, if they declare martial law, then all the tariffs, Trumpster Fire can do whatever the F he wants with the tariffs. It just makes my head hurt. I am off Mondays, work Tuesday through Saturday. Cool. What do you want to call in and be on the live? No, I'm just kidding. I would need a burner phone for that, wouldn't I? I would need a whole nother phone. What in the world is this? I was going to look to see, wasn't there some other thing? And that did not include the two people that got wounded fatally with a sharp-edged object in front of the Jewish Museum in downtown DC on the Mall of America. That's so freaking nuts. And let me just see if there was another stupid thing this morning. Maybe not. Maybe just the Hegseth scandal and the Susie Wiles scandal. Yeah, I don't think there was another thing yet today, but sure is likely, right? And that taco, $2 Donnie always chickens out, man. I think he is so pissed. He wants to unleash his fury on the world and hit that that button, not the Diet Coke button, the other one that looks just like it in the Oval Office. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Who will be pardoned next? Will Diddy be pardoned next? Will Ghislaine be pardoned next? Will Chauvin be pardoned next? Is he going to pardon all three of those folks? Because that's just like one black eye after another, like Elon's black eye. So I wanted to talk about Elon's black eye too. I don't think I've really talked about that in my lives yet because it hadn't happened yet with the live before yesterday's, because that was a couple of days prior. And then yesterday, I don't think I mentioned it because there was just other material I was trying to cover with all that George Floyd, having reviewed so much of the footage of what happened at Cup Foods. What is that intersection? Is it Chicago and 38th, I think, are those two streets that Cup Foods is on the corner of in Minneapolis? And, I really was going through it blow by blow because I'd been talking about it. And when I talk about things off the top of my head, I'd like to go back and make sure that I'm accurate and see what I missed. It's always fascinating to see the things that I missed. So, yeah, like I had always thought that, and trigger warning, going to the George Floyd scene of the crime, I'd always, in my mind's eye, seen the urine that was on the sidewalk. Like I thought some of it got to his mouth, but it didn't. I don't think it did. I think that the stream of his urine is separate from whatever saliva or sweat or blood was coming out of his mouth. I know he had a bloody nose, so maybe that's what the wetness was on the sidewalk when they finally um, swept him off. So what a horrible, horrible situation. And it's really irrelevant, of course, but I just want to reiterate, since there was that troll that came in and said, well, he had health problems and he was on drugs, so that's what did it. It wasn't the knee on the neck for the 9.5 minutes. It wasn't the jujitsu blood choke, as the name of that hold is called. Yeah, it was. I mean, the doctor that broke it down during the trial broke it down more definitively that it was mostly that, but some of what suffocated him was the compression of the cement that he was on with the weight of all of the officers on him, that his body, especially his torso, his breathing apparatus was essentially in a vice grip. And then the one officer was shoving the cuffs from his left hand up onto his right back rib. So really twisting his arm, really twisting it in, why would you do that? Why would you be pushing the cuff? I don't know if he was pushing it with his hand or with his knee. Anyway, I'm glad that I said that crazy thing that I said when I was speaking about the George Floyd. Did I say it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Everybody noticed that Chauvin had his hand in his pocket. And some people were like, man, he's just so relaxed. Like, why is he just with his hand in his pocket? And trigger warning, again, this is really rude and disgusting, but I think that it's very, very likely true and accurate. I could say that I believe it 100% that he was jacking off. He was completely getting off on the killing of his annoying coworker. They tried to pretend that they didn't work together. They tried to pretend that he wouldn't have recognized him. They tried to, okay, so they did work together, but he wouldn't recognize them. Okay, well, he wouldn't have recognized him and he didn't know his name. No, they had the man's name from jump. They knew who they were dealing with was George Floyd. And when you have a giant individual that's 6'5", you're not going to mistake them for someone else. You're just not. Like the employee that said, oh no, I take back what I said about them fighting every shift that they had together, as confusing George Floyd with another guy that looks just like him who's also 6'5". What, is he also a bouncer? I mean, sure, they could have more than one 6'5" black bouncers in their 50s. Was he 50 or 45? I think he was in his 50s. Early 50s, if I'm remembering right. And yeah, most people in their early 50s are going to have some kind of medical diagnosis. It doesn't mean that they're going to drop from that. And even if he was going to drop from that, even if he had a terminal cancer that was going to take him out in a few weeks, doesn't give anybody the right to suffocate him and to basically imprison him. The way they restricted his freedom to move about freely is kind of the definition of kidnapping, actually, in my opinion. Like, corralling a person, controlling a person, restricting a person's ability to move about freely is not legal in our country. If someone's under arrest, it's legal. So I guess they were arresting him. So it does not give them the right to squeeze the life out of him and to make it impossible for him to breathe. And these are trained professionals. If they didn't know that they were killing him, then they should all be fired anyway, because they should have known. It's like what you say in court. It's their job to know. They knew or should have known. It doesn't matter. They can claim dumb, they can claim incompetence and say, oh, well, we didn't know it was going to do that. And we didn't know that it had done it. Okay, so you're dumber than a box of rocks. Great. We really want you to have a gun and a badge and the power to basically abduct people off the street and restrict their mobility whenever you feel like it. No, if you're that stupid, step off. And if you're not that stupid, then you did it intentionally. And then, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know which is worse because they're both so stupid. But I think what is the worst, in my opinion, is when it's blatant corruption, but these corrupt freaks, of course, they're not going to admit, like, yeah, you got me. Okay, yeah, that's what we were up to. They're not going to admit it. All they can do is claim buffoonery. I call it pulling the buffoon card. Yeah, we were just doofuses. We just don't have a clue what we're doing. We trip over our own shoes. I don't know how we get out of bed in the morning without killing ourselves because we're so stupid. Anyway, going off on that, because it really bothers me, because that's what I've seen in my adult life with corruption in our judicial system and in our legal system, and it's just not right. It doesn't matter if you're so stupid you didn't know. It's really no different. It's your job to know. You knew or should have known. It's basically the same bottom line, and the punishment should be the same in a sense. But then, of course, you're always going to go with, well, was it accidental and the stupid buffoon, or was it the evil, corrupt, intentional, vile assassin? I mean, I think that they all knew damn well exactly what they were doing and what their intention was. I just don't know if it was pre-planned or if it was just Chauvin being an opportunist, that here was his lucky day running into his annoying coworker that he hated so much. That's what I think it was. I think he was just being an opportunist. May pardon JusticeAtooZ. Well, I hope they will. If I do anything wrong. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, pardons are good except for when they're abused. And man, did he? It's my guess that if Jeffrey wasn't deceased, he would have gotten pardoned as well. Again, these people, I think, have so much dirt on Donnie. He's got to handle them with kid gloves, and basically they've got the upper hand in a sense. So I'm going to get to that thing that I want to read to you. One sec. But I'm still not done with my Joe. And it is after 12, so I'm not even allowed to drink it. What am I doing? I'm breaking my rule. Rules are made to be broken, right? Okay, so I'm going to pull up that article. I think I can. I think I know right where to find it. And I think it's in yesterday's description, but it might be the day before. But first, I'll check yesterday's. No, I think it's the day before. It's not that one. The title of this video from 3 days ago, from May 30th. Was it truly booger wiping X who clocked Musk at his own request, or could it be Taco Macho MAGA Man? There is one of the content creators that I was watching, and let me try to remember who it was. It was a female one. It It might have been the cult. What is her channel? The Cult Knitting Lady, something like that. It could have been her that was saying that Stephen Miller is left-handed and that the guy Musk was punched in the right eye. And I hadn't noticed. It might not have been the knitting cult lady. It might have been a different content creator. I'll figure it out and put it in the description. But let me see. Is this the article? I think this is the article. Is it? No. What did I do with it? Did I put it in? Is it in yesterday's video? I bet it's in yesterday's video. That's probably what I did with it. If it's not there, then maybe I'll have to give up. You know me, I hate giving up. I hate giving up. Yeah, it's not there. So the article that I'm referring to, I thought I had it saved so that I could share it with you guys. And I was going to share it yesterday, but I didn't. So I was going to share it today. It's the article about Trumpster Fire commending Tim Walz for how he handled the situation back in 2020 with the Memorial Day George Floyd situation and then the riots right after. And then, of course, after 4 years went by and Tim Walz was chosen by Kamala to be her running mate, then Trumpster Fire did a 180 and started criticizing how horribly he handled it. Because, you know, he doesn't like check his own notes from what he said prior. I'm just going to Google Trump praises. Here, I can do it this way. Trump praises Walz. And W-A-L-Z is how you spell his name, isn't it? Was it the CNN one? Because I know it was a mainstream media. I think it was this one. Let me read a little bit of it and see. No, this is from August 8th of 2024. But I'll go ahead and read it since I've been searching and I should just put my stupid phone down. But I'll read a little bit of this and see what it says. So this is written this last summer, like I said, August 2024. CNN. Republicans are attacking Tim Walz's response to unrest in Minneapolis in 2020, but at the time, then President Donald Trump said he fully agreed with how the Minnesota governor handled rioting in the aftermath of George Floyd's Red Room, undercutting a key line of GOP attack this week after Walz was named Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 running mate. I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days, Trump said of Walz on June 1st, 2020, on a call during which he also described the Democratic governor as an excellent guy. The call was led by Trump, who was joined by then Attorney General Bill Barr, then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley, and then Defense Secretary Mark Esper, and included a series of governors as protests across the country, some of which devolved into violent rioting, were breaking out following the police killing of Floyd on May 25th. During the call, during which Trump implored governors across the country to dominate protesters, I mean, he literally said, like, can't we just like shoot them in the leg? He's such a stable genius. OMG. Dominate protesters have previously been reported. The CNN published the call's full transcript the day it happened in 2020. Yeah, there were almost riots on Saturday, the day before yesterday, in San Diego, where ICE was arresting a bunch of restaurant employees. They were doing a raid. And, I mean, it's really important for there not to be riots, right? If there's riots, then they can declare martial law. We don't want that. I mean, we don't want riots anyway. Peaceful protesting is where it's at. It's not uncommon for even the most bitter of political rivals to offer tempered praise toward one another in the aftermath of a natural disaster or serious nationwide crisis, especially ones that require cooperation in responses between state and federal government. But more than 4 years later, Trump's praise for walls takes on new meaning as the GOP nominee and his allies have sought to jolt Americans' memories of the nationwide unrest that summer, linking walls to pictures of Minneapolis engulfed in flames and the aftermath of the destruction. You've got a big National Guard out there that's ready to come in and fight like hell. I tell you, what they did in Minneapolis was incredible. They went in and dominated, and it happened immediately, Trump told the governors. Tim Walz, again, I was very happy with the last couple of days, Tim. You called up big numbers, and the big numbers knocked them out so fast, it was like bowling pins. He's got such a weird, like WW, the World Wrestling Federation, WWF mindset. The big numbers knocking them down like bowling pins. The call took place a week after Floyd was killed. At the time and in the years since, Republicans publicly criticized Walz over whether he waited too long to call in Minnesota's National Guard. But then we all remember the National Guard, and that was just like the National Guard Reserve in Ohio at Kent State back in, was it, I want to say 1973? I can't remember. I wish I could. Maybe 1972. Anyway, I'll check it later. Trump's 2024 campaign, or if one of you wants to check what year the 4 dead in Ohio. So that was National Guard reserves. That wasn't even the National Guard. That was just the reserves that were on campus. Like, those were really young guys that basically, maybe they effed up. Maybe they were just following the orders. I mean, that whole thing was such a scandal. There was so much cover up. And it was a black eye for everyone. Yeah. Back to that black eye. Southpaw. Somebody with a left southpaw, and that would be the husband of, that would be Stephen Miller, the wife that he ran off with from the Oval Office. Okay, Trump's 2024 campaign, responding to CNN's request about his 2020 praise for Walz and the details of the call, said that he was only complimentary of the Minnesota governor, given that by June 1st, Walz had acted. They argued, however, that Trump always had been frustrated that Walz hadn't taken more action sooner. Walz first activated the Guard on May 28th, 3 days after Floyd was killed. The same day, protesters lit the outside of the Minneapolis Fire Department's 3rd Precinct on fire. And they also burned down the restaurant that the two worked at, the El Nuevo Ranchero, the restaurant and bar where they were security on Tuesday nights when they had their dance fights. I mean, dance competitions. The important thing here is the timing and the context for these remarks. He was complimentary of a governor that finally, after days of madness, had finally done something. So it wasn't in real time. It was after Walz finally did something about it, a senior Trump campaign advisor told CNN. How many times did he say finally in one sentence or two sentences? I think three. Three times in two sentences and twice in one sentence. Wow. A second Trump advisor reiterated the point, telling CNN the call came in the context of what President Trump encouraged a lot of these governors and local leaders to do in finally stopping or doing something about these riots. It has been 7 days or however long days that Minneapolis has been burning, where President Trump is essentially saying, finally, you guys, finally, the burning and the looting and the rioting have stopped. But didn't they call in the National Guard on day 3? So the National Guard was allowing it to, right? Anna Bees, what's up? Nice to see you. And Has. I didn't even notice. I'm like, LOL, I mean Jazz. I like Has. Call me Hazmat, like what's her face? Xaname's doggy, Hazmat. That is funny. It's a cute name for the little dog, but yeah, where was I? Allies close to Trump echoed the advisors. Oh, does somebody want to look up the date of the Kent State shooting? I think it was 2022. But I could be incorrect. Or no, 2022 I think was the 50-year anniversary. I think it was 1972. Sorry. Glad I caught myself there. I think it was 2022 when it happened. OMG. Okay. Allies close to Trump echoed the advisor's sentiment, noting the panic among the government officials at the time on how to curb the riots and the urgency to reach across the aisle to stop the violence. During the 2020 call, Walz also offered some words of thanks for the Trump administration's response, thanking Esper for his strategic guidance. He also asked the Trump administration to help with messaging surrounding the role of the National Guards. But in the hours after Walz was announced as Democrats' vice presidential candidate on Monday, Republicans attacked his tenure as governor with much the same criticism focused on the timing of his decision to call in his state's National Guard. Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, I guess that's not even his name. I don't know. Like, apparently he's changed his name a number of times. Is that like J.D. Salinger? Is he trying to be like J.D. Salinger because he wrote his book? OMG. I had not put two and two together with that. Salinger is like my favorite author. I read Vance's book. It's not that good. It got a lot of praise. It ain't that good. The guy can't really write, in my humble opinion. But I'm like a Nazi when it comes to writing. Like I've told you guys, like Hemingway and Capote, those guys can write. That's how you're supposed to write. Anyway, where was I? And it's not just me that believes that. That's pretty much like the entire country and maybe the whole world. I mean, they kind of set the bar for everyone to write the way that they write. They're great. They're the best. Anyway, back on track here. And if you haven't read Hemingway or Capote, try it, especially that In Cold Blood. It's hard to get a hold of Capote books other than that one. Like I tried to get my hands on every one of his books that I could, and it was frustrating AF. Okay. And that was just like 15 years ago, maybe 14 years ago, maybe 13. So that should have been, I thought it should have been a lot easier with Amazon and everything. Okay. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance told reporters earlier this week that Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020. Walls sat by and let Minneapolis burn, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wrote on X. Now that guy's a piece of crap. Ron DeSantis should not be criticizing anybody. Texas Governor Greg Abbott echoed that accusation, and he too shouldn't be criticizing anybody, in my humble opinion. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton said Walz could have stopped the rioting if he wanted to, while the Republican Party's research arm accused Walz of fleeing like a coward while Minneapolis burned. So he didn't want to. He wanted to. So he was like part of the rioters. He was egging on the rioters. Oh, thank you. May 4th, 1970. So the 50-year anniversary was the same year. That was just like 3 weeks exactly before George Floyd. Wow. That's wild. Because, see, I went to see a play about it right around. Maybe the play wasn't done for a couple of years, but I thought it was done like on the 50th anniversary. It was a really good play. Really good. Thank you so much for that information. So it was May 4th, 1970, that the Neil Young song was written, probably on May 5th. He wrote that song the minute he heard about it. And, this was the 70s, so it's not like there was cell phones and information traveling fast. But that information he probably got it on May 4th. He probably wrote that song on May 4th. I know he wrote it the minute he heard about it, from start to finish. I think 2 hours. He was like in a cabin with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, I think. Well, that would be with himself. With Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I think he was in a cabin in Northern California, and they heard the information and were just absolutely devastated. And then he wrote one of his best songs of all, and he writes amazing songs. Okay, where was I? A spokesperson for Cotton's Senate campaign said Walz, okay, I'll just read that. If I read it already, I apologize. Said Walz should have immediately sent in the Guard, the state police, and restore order instead of letting violent criminals destroy a huge portion of the city before they were bailed out of jail by Kamala Harris, alluding to a tweet Harris posted in support of a Minnesota bail fund. As Tim Walz has admitted, his handling of the riots was an abject failure, Cotton's spokesperson said. Referring remarks the governor made about the city's response and the riots. Spokespeople for Abbott and DeSantis did not immediately respond to a request for comment Wednesday afternoon. So what's DeSantis going to do about Madeline Soto? It's all his fault. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, even before Harris selected Walz, Trump criticized the governor on the subject. Every voter in Minnesota needs to know that when the violent mobs of anarchists and looters and Marxists came to burn down Minneapolis 4 years ago, remember me? I couldn't get your governor to act, Trump told the crowd at his rally in St. Cloud, Minnesota. You know why he said this? I think Minnesota was the only state that voted Democrat when Ronald Reagan won 49 of the 50 states. So he was really focused on trying to get them. Okay, Trump told the crowd at his rally in St. Cloud, Minnesota last month before falsely claiming that he, not Walz, activated the National Guard in response to the unrest. What a pig. Oh, like, is he lying or is he incompetent and has dementia and is creating false memory syndrome? Oh, I don't have the Trump derangement syndrome, but I think I have like the Trump exhaustion syndrome. I really do. It's awful. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. It's like a brain bleed. I sent the National Guard to save Minneapolis, while Kamala Harris sided with the arsonists and rioters and raised money to bail out the criminals, Trump said. Walz, who first activated the Guard after peaceful protests had protests had devolved into instances of rioting, looting, and violence, said in 2020 he did so in response to requests from the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So yeah, thank you so much for looking up that date, Anna Bees. I so appreciate that. That really puts quite the context into this situation that happened in Minneapolis exactly 3 weeks to the day after the 50th anniversary of the Kent State tragedy. Wow. And yeah, I'm sure they were very mindful of that and did not want a repeat situation. During the June 2020 call, Trump said he had directed Walz to call in the National Guard before lauding the way the officers performed. I said, "You got to use the National Guard," Trump said, referring to Minneapolis. "They didn't at first, then they did. And I'll tell you, that's true. I don't know what it was. Those guys, third night, fourth night, they walked through that stuff like it was butter. Like it was butter. They walked right through, and you haven't had any problems since." Well, I would disagree with that. It's a problem-ridden city. I mean, the whole state is pretty problem-ridden, but anyway. The governor faced some bipartisan criticism for the timing of his order to activate the guard. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, a Democrat who was facing scrutiny over chaos in his city, said in August of 2020 that he had verbally asked Walz on the evening of May 27th to send in the guard, but the governor hesitated. Walz refuted Frey's account at the time, saying the ask did not constitute an official request, which he said came the next day. The Minneapolis police chief also sent an email on the night of May 27th to the state's public safety commissioner that included an attachment asking for guard assistance, according to the Minneapolis Star Tribune. So it happened on May 25th, and I think May 27th was the same day that Derek Chauvin's wife filed for divorce after 10 years of being married. If it wasn't that day, it was just a couple of days later. And there was speculation that she might have been some kind of mail order bride. I do not know. Some of the most notable instances of violence in Minneapolis, including the ransacking and burning of a city police precinct. And that city police precinct is probably the one that's right down the street from the El Nuevo Ranchero restaurant and bar that also got burned down. I don't know what day it got burned down. I don't know if it was the same day or on the 27th. It was probably I don't know if it was the same day as George Floyd was unalived or if it was the same day that the police department got burned down. And I bet it was probably the same day the police department got burned down. Let's see. If anybody wants to double check that, please feel free, and I'll catch up with your comments in just a minute. I'm going to see if I can finish this article real quick. Where was I? Including the ransacking and burning of a city police precinct took place the night of May 28th after Walz had already activated a portion of the guard. Walz and Trump spoke the same day. The governor activated the entire guard on May 30th. In the June 1st call with Walz and the other governors, Trump seemed to acknowledge that he was satisfied with how the state guard responded to the protests. Yesterday and the day before, compared to the first few days, was just never seen anything like it, Trump said. Walz responded, "Absolutely. A lot of people don't understand who the National Guard is, and you need to get out there from a PR perspective and make sure that it's not seen as a occupying force, but it's their neighbors, school teachers, business owners, those types of things," Walz said on the call. Trump said he believed that was a good idea, though he added he thought that the people wouldn't have minded an occupying force. "I wish they had an occupying force in there," Trump added. Later that day, federal law enforcement would forcibly clear peaceful protesters from a park outside the White House, making way for Trump to cross the park and pose for a photo op with a Bible outside St. John's Church. I remember that. That was whack, in my opinion. I think that's it. That was really whack. I'm sure Peter Thiel had something to do with how successful his book was. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Annabee is very smart. You're so smart. I mean, it's not that he's a bad writer. He's a decent writer. He's no Capote or Hemingway. That's all. And for him to, if he calls himself JD because of JD Salinger, then that's just, I don't know. That rubs me the wrong way because I'm such a Salinger fan. I'm a fangirl of the Salinger. Did he pass away? I think he might have, but he might still be alive. He basically has been hiding out ever since he got all famous. Let's see. JD Salinger. JD Salinger. JD Salinger. It's not working. Why? Now it's working. It says it's not working. JD Salinger. Okay, there it goes. He died 2010. Wow, he was like 91 years old, it looks like. How did that slide by me for the last 15 years? I guess I've been busy with kids or something. I don't know. Let's see. Because, yeah, my last baby was born in 2012. And I had 3 small children in 2010. Was trying to get a 4th one, and it finally happened. So we got really lucky. Hey, yeah, Mrs. Amir says hi. She's been lurking. She was the first one here. Exhausted of hearing about little T. I just can't. Right, you're suffering from the little T exhaustion syndrome too. I mean, he is the derangement syndrome as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's just crazy. You're welcome. And the upside down Bible. Oh, did he hold it upside down, Annabees? I mean, that's just as weird as him not putting his hand on the Bible when he was sworn in during his inauguration. Jazz, you are so sweet and smart. Oh, you're too nice. You're too nice. Me don't agree. I'm mean and stupid. No, I'm just kidding. I try to be on top of it, and I think maybe something that might make me smart, if it doesn't like cancel it out that I said that, is that I don't think I'm smart. I mean, I think that I am persistent, and I try, I do my best. I'm totally happy to laugh at myself. I'm totally happy to be wrong. I mean, you know, a lot of things are debatable too. So it's not a matter of right and wrong. It's just a matter of your perspective, right? So I think that makes somebody smart, to be humble and open-minded. And yeah, it's really important to me to be kind. The part about being sweet. Thank you, Annabees. Back at ya. See my mug? I'm selling peace on earth. That's what I'm aiming for. So what else? We have been on for an hour and 15. It's so nice to be on routinely, because yesterday I did a live in the evening, and I was going to try to come on live on Saturday, and then I couldn't. It's very frustrating. I need this, you guys. This is my hour of therapy. So thank you for being my therapist. I really appreciate it. You are open-minded and have great lives. Oh, you are so sweet. I think they're great when you guys are here participating, not to put any pressure on you because you all have busy lives as well. I understand if you can't be here, it's not your responsibility to push me along. But yeah, I could talk all day about Salinger books. You guys know the short stories. Perfect Day for Banana Fish, Teddy, For Esme with Love and Squalor. Am I going to forget the last one for the 4 stories? Franny and Zoe. How could I forget? Franny and Zoe. Okay, so the 4 stories, I can't believe I remembered them all. It's been 1,000 years since I've read them. So J.D. Salinger wrote the 4 stories before Catcher in the Rye. I want to say Catcher in the Rye was his last major publication. But all of the books kind of focus around the Glass family. So their last name is Glass. And it's a very successful and kind of cold New York City family, like from Manhattan. I think that there's 7 kids in the Glass family. And Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenter, that's another one. Because wait, there's 9 stories. What am I talking about? 4 stories. Franny and Zoe is a book by itself, and it has another story in it. Does it have Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenters in it? Let me see. It's been, like I said, it's been 1,000 years. I'll try this again. J.D. Salinger books. The Catcher in the Rye, Franny and Zoe, 9 stories. Is it just the 3? A Perfect Day for Banana Fish is its own book. What? The Laughing Man, For Esme with Love and Squalor, also its own book. No, I think it's putting all the names of the stories that are in 9 stories. Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenter, Teddy, Seymour and Introduction. That's one that I would normally would remember the name of. And anyway, Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenter, I remember very well. Perfect Day for Banana Fish, Teddy. I remember these stories very well. I could like rattle off the whole plot to you. For Esme with Love and Squalor, also. Franny and Zoe, I remember it, but maybe not as well as those others that I rattled off. And Catcher in the Rye, I know like the back of my hand. I've read it a million times. I could like recite the first page almost. If you really want to hear about it, I'll tell you how I got here. I think that's like the first 10 or 20 words. And then he starts talking about his brother prostituting himself in Los Angeles because he's a writer and he's writing for the movies. So he's prostituting himself. Anyway, yeah, good stuff. Anybody who's not familiar with J.D. Salinger. The Perfect Day for Banana Fish is a terrible story about a man taking his own life. But let me just tell you one of my favorite lines from that movie because it has been a source of happiness from that movie, from that book, ever since I discovered it. So before this man takes his own life, he is in the water at the beach with a little girl. And I don't know if the little girl is a relative of his or if they're strangers. I don't remember, but they're staying in the same hotel because I think they rode up in the elevator together. But then when he goes to his room, he deletes himself. But when they're in the water, I think the little girl is a stranger because she's like trying to like talk to him and make friends with him. And she says something about an airplane, like not an airplane, but an airplane. So I've just always gotten a kick out of that. You know, it's the little things. Teddy is a story about like a 9 or 10-year-old boy that is the Dalai Lama who also takes his own life on a ship cruise in an empty pool or something like that. That's a wild one. Um, yeah. So the last family, the oldest and the youngest, Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield, is not part of the last family, obviously, because in all of the stories they all have that last name Glass. So that's like his fictional family that people figure is probably a reflection of what his own family was like. And the Glass family is very, very similar to Holden Caulfield's family. And Holden Caulfield's family is pretty much non-existent in the story, other than his brother who sold out to Hollywood. And yeah, it took me reading that book so many times before I realized what it's about. It's about, believe it or not, it's about pedophiles. Holden Caulfield's teacher, whose apartment he went to in New York City, and the teacher's married and he's there with his wife, and Holden's sleeping on the couch, and he wakes up with the man like petting him on the head, and he loses it. That's like the last thing that happens before he has a nervous breakdown and lands in the psychiatric hospital. So I think more happened. I think that back then you can only allude to things in stories. So the fact that this man was watching him sleep and touching him, petting his hair, I think alludes to the creepiness of it, even if it's not alluding to anything more having happened right then. Like, what if he hadn't woken up, or what were this guy's intentions? Where, the first few times I read it, I thought that the man just really liked Holden and had affection for him in a non-perverted way. But then you go back to Holden's girlfriend or best friend, and it's like towards the beginning of the story, the really good looking one who he would play chess with her at her house, and her stepdad would run around naked. And that too, I think, was alluding to her being victimized by her stepdad. So, yeah, like I said, it took me reading the book handfuls of times to have it hit home, because I was analyzing, like, well, why did he have a nervous breakdown? Like, the book starts with him, it's the last day of school, and he graduated. I think he graduated the prep school. It's like a high school, a boys boarding school, and he's just kind of like disoriented, and he doesn't really know what to do, and everybody else has already left, but he's kind of slow moving out. And so he's kind of vulnerable and trying to figure out where to go next. So I'm thinking that he probably graduated, but maybe it was like the end of his junior year and he'd be coming back. I don't know. But the whole thing with the if a body, catch a body coming through the rye, for anyone who's not familiar, but most people probably are, because it's like required reading usually in high school, is the catcher in the rye is a metaphor for being the person that catches the kids running through the rye before they accidentally run over the cliff. And he wants to be that person that prevents the kids from accidentally running over the cliff. So it's really like a Peter Pan story in a way. It's just about how children are pure and adults are evil, and that you lose your innocence as you transition from childhood to adulthood. And essentially his philosophy and his theory, that I think is quite valid, which is why the book was so successful, is that all kids are essentially genuine and good, and all grown-ups are sellouts and not good. So they're all prostitutes and they're all perverts, right? I mean, that when you're a kid, you're just kind of like your unbridled self, like the puppy dogs, and then as you grow up, you become a conformist and you do the things that you think you're supposed to do, and you forget who you are. I think is basically the message of the book. And the other message is F you, right? That's like what he reads on the playground. the school wall just says F you, which again was very daring in a novel back then to put that. Because what year did he write that? Like probably like 1950. Let's see what year Catcher in the Rye. 1951. So close. But Franny and Zoe was written in 61. Nine Stories was 53. Perfect Day for Banana Fish was 48. Laughing Man 49. For Esme with Love and Squalor 50. Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenter 55. Teddy was 53 because that's the ninth of the 9 stories. And then he wrote Uncle Wiggily in Connecticut in 2022. Wait, what? How did that work? He passed away already in 2010, right? So they published it in 2022. I don't think I've read that, Uncle Wiggily in Connecticut. I got to get my hands on that. Maybe it was republished because here it says Catcher in the Rye 1984. Anyway, you can't believe the crap you read on the internet, right? 3 early stories published in 1914. So yeah, they were finding works of his. He wrote a lot that I've never heard of. So yeah, he hit everything. Interesting. And Margaret Salinger, is that his kid? Daughter of J.D. Salinger. Wow. In 2000, she published Dreamcatcher, a memoir tell-all book. Ooh, I'll have to read that. See, I didn't think he ever had sex. No, I'm just kidding. He's just such a loner. Like, you just picture him being like a professor or an instructor that lives in a cabin in the woods and doesn't ever talk to anybody. All he does is write. Well, I guess he would talk to people when he's teaching his classes, but that's it. So anyway, sorry to go off on that tangent. It's all J.D. Vance's fault. He's no Salinger. I'm going to ask Google if they know why he calls himself that. Let's see. Why does J.D. Vance call himself J.D.? Okay, it's not that, apparently. Good. Here's why J.D. Vance had so many names. Okay, I'm not going to read all that. Why has J.D. Vance changed his name several times? Here's the real reason. Okay. Setting it down. There. I hope it doesn't annoy you guys as much as it annoys me when I pick up my phone and can't set it down. But you know how my brain only works if I'm touching my phone. So it's bad to set it down. So then the brain shuts down. Anyway, what were we talking about? How smart I was, right? You're so sweet, Annabes. You're open-minded and have great lives. I never read any of his books. I highly recommend The Catcher in the Rye. It is very depressing, but it's also very illuminating. And it is just like one of the cornerstones of our modern day culture. I think that is arguable, but I think a lot of people would argue that it is one of the cornerstones of our modern day culture. Just like To Kill a Mockingbird or In Cold Blood or other books, right? Hashtag other books. Eat, Pray, Love. I mean, that's a more modern classic. But yeah, it's a classic. That's the word I'm looking for. Like Great Gatsby or 1984. It's one of those that people refer to a lot, even if they don't realize that they're referring to it, I think. Ladies, gonna check in YouTube for update before I have to pick up Dexter, not PMPU. Bye, Fred. Have a great day. Yes, and thanks for coming in. It's always lovely to see you. I heard that many serial red rummers read that book. Isn't it the book that the douchebag who killed John Lennon had on his person? That really pissed me off. He was also in love with Jodie Foster, so he kind of trashed Jodie Foster and Salinger at the same time that he destroyed so many people's lives when he took John Lennon's life. And I forget that douchebag's name. I don't want to think about it because he doesn't deserve to have a name. It'll probably come to me. But he was, John Lennon knew him because he was an avid fan, and he hung outside of where Lennon lived in Manhattan and would often interact with him and ask for his signature, ask him to sign books or things like that. And it was just another day. I think Lennon and Yoko Ono were getting into their limo or their car, to go out to dinner. And he walked up to them, and I think he had a record album in his hands, and maybe The Catcher in the Rye. Maybe he didn't have it on his person, but he spoke about it. So I haven't heard that other serial killers are connected to that book. Just whatever that douchebag's name is that took John Lennon out. It's not Hinckley. Hinckley's the guy who shot Reagan, right? But let's see. Now that I've got my thing back on, my dictation. Guy who shot John Lennon. Mark David Chapman. See, he doesn't deserve to have a name. And the shooting, in case anybody needs their memory jogged like I do, that happened on December 8th of 1980. It was so sad. So sad. And denied parole for the 12th time in 2022. Yeah. That was terrible. And yeah, didn't he? I think he was wearing like a hat, like a little red cap with a feather in it that was like JD Salinger's hat or something like that. So he was living in Hawaii and pled guilty to shooting Lennon in June 1981. Huh. Anyway. Again, setting it down. We're wrapping up. We're already past 90 minutes. So I'm just happy that I'm not in a hurry today, like I so often am. It's frustrating having to cut myself short or having to like pressure my speech and talk fast to try to make sure I get all my ideas into the video before my time is up. Man, I used to talk really fast when I first started making videos. I felt like I had to. I felt like if I didn't like keep the pace going, that people would lose interest. And maybe that's why I don't get as many views, is because I don't talk fast enough. but I think, if people want to put me on double speed, that's fine. But I think I talk plenty fast. I don't like to have the pressured speech. I like to chill. And yeah, if somebody's speaking very slowly, I will speed up the video. But for the most part, I don't like to listen to the videos sped up because it just kind of, I think it like heightens my anxiety. I heard that many serial red rummers read that book. Huh. It's just a very depressing book, and it's never been made into a movie, and it should be. It should definitely be made into a movie, but probably because it's so heavy. And I can't even remember the name of JD's brother, the one that is prostituting himself in Hollywood. That's bothering me. It's like I can almost remember. Let's see what happens if I recite the first few words of the book. If you really want to hear about it, I'll tell you how I got here. Okay, so Phoebe was isn't that the name of the girlfriend whose stepdad would run around naked? It's actually, if you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. Isn't that cute? Um, just trying to figure out his brother's name. First line establishes the novel's theme. It doesn't say his brother's name. Holden Caulfield's brother who writes for Hollywood. DB. Yeah, that was bothering me. Holden is critical of DB's career choice, viewing it as a sellout of his talent and artistic integrity. Right. Oh, and didn't JD Salinger, didn't he like fight in some of the wars? I guess I have to ask my phone that because my brain doesn't work. Was JD Salinger a war veteran? So I'm thinking he had PTSD. Yes, JD Salinger was a U.S. Army veteran who served in World War II. He was part of the Counterintelligence Corps, the CIC, during the war, primarily stationed in Europe. His experiences in the war, including battles like D-Day, the Battle of the Bulge, influenced his writing, particularly in The Catcher in the Rye. Okay. He saw combat in some of the world's most pivotal battles. Wow. Yeah. That's why he was so screwed up. But, the writing was probably his therapy, right? I mean, he wasn't really that screwed up. Some of those stories are really twisted, like Perfect Day for Banana Fish and Teddy. So Catcher in the Rye, I think, is pretty twisted too. I don't know where I heard it from. So yeah, I don't know that. Maybe you've heard that, Annabise. Maybe you were getting wires crossed with his own trauma. Maybe it was more like that kind of thing. I don't know. We'll look into it, right? We'll follow up. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Love and light. Have a really good afternoon. If there's anything anyone wants to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. Thanks so much for being here. And eat your veggies. I am so proud of myself. I was eating celery and peanut butter right before I came on. Oh, and I have a peach to eat right now that I'm done. I meant to bring it in here with me. Did I? No, I did not bring it in here with me, but it gives me something to look forward to. Eat a peach. It's nice that it's summer. I love peaches. I love watermelon. I was eating watermelon earlier today. It's supposed to be one of the healthier fruits as far as like sugars. So allegedly, and strawberries too are supposed to be good for the sugars. I have to look that up though because I have to be really careful with my sugars. It makes me feel like crap if I eat too much sugar. That's why I eat the vegetables and the protein. That's what I'm always saying to you guys because I'm really trying to remind me. I'm just projecting onto you. All right. Love and light. Have a great day. And yeah, hopefully no freaking martial law and hopefully no more of this Trumpster fire exhaustion syndrome that you and I are both suffering, Annabise. I know other people are suffering it too. We're not alone. But keep on keeping on. Just be yourself. Don't sell out to nobody. Nobody rides for free. All right. See you on the next one. Love and light. Thanks for watching. See you soon.